Every great achievement begins with purpose. It's the spark that turns effort into meaning, and meaning into momentum. When you wake up each morning, you're not just opening your eyes to another day, you're stepping into another opportunity to move closer to what truly matters. But too often, people wake up reacting to life instead of leading it. They check their phones, dive into tasks, and rush into routines without ever asking the most important question. Why am I doing this? That question is the difference between living by default and living by design. Purpose is not something you stumble upon once in a lifetime. It's something you reconnect with every single day. It's the quiet reminder of what drives you when everything else feels uncertain. It's the anchor that holds you steady when distractions try to pull you away from your path. When your purpose is clear, every action, no matter how small, becomes a building block of something greater. You stop chasing validation from others because you already know what you're working toward. People often think motivation comes from external sources, a speech, a quote, a burst of inspiration. But real motivation is born from clarity. When you know why you do something, you don't need to be pushed. You naturally pull yourself forward. The person who understands their purpose doesn't wait for perfect conditions. They create progress out of persistence. They act not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. Purpose gives ordinary days extraordinary value. Without clarity, even success can feel empty. You can achieve goals, earn recognition, and still feel like something is missing. That's because accomplishment without purpose is motion without direction. It's running fast but going nowhere. Purpose, on the other hand, gives direction to your ambition. It helps you measure success not by comparison, but by alignment, the degree to which your actions reflect your values. Clarity doesn't require a grand mission or world-changing vision. Sometimes your purpose for the day can be simple, to help someone, to grow, to improve just a little bit. The key is to be intentional. When you start the day with purpose, you take control of your time rather than letting time control you. Each decision, each task, each conversation starts to carry weight because it connects back to something meaningful. People with purpose see setbacks differently. Instead of viewing challenges as roadblocks, they see them as tests that strengthen commitment. When the why is strong enough, the how always finds a way. Clarity doesn't eliminate struggle, but it gives struggle meaning. It transforms obstacles into lessons and failures into feedback. The purpose-driven person doesn't fear mistakes, they fear stagnation. Purpose also shapes energy. Notice how exhaustion feels different when you're doing something that matters to you. You can be tired but fulfilled, drained yet proud. That's the paradox of purpose. It demands effort but returns fulfillment. When your daily actions align with what you care about, energy replenishes itself. It becomes less about how much time you have and more about how intentionally you use it. There's also a powerful ripple effect that comes with living with purpose. People around you begin to feel it. Purpose is contagious. It inspires others not through words, but through example. When someone sees you act with conviction, they start to question their own direction. You become a mirror that reflects possibility, reminding others that clarity is within reach for anyone willing to ask deeper questions. Clarity of purpose also simplifies decision-making. When you know what truly matters, saying no becomes easier. You stop scattering your attention across 1,000 distractions and start focusing on what moves you closer to your vision. Every choice becomes a filter. Does this align with my purpose, or does it pull me away? Over time, this filter strengthens your discipline and sharpens your intuition. Ultimately, clarity is not a one-time discovery. It's a daily practice. It requires reflection, honesty, and courage to look inward and ask if your actions align with your intentions. Each morning offers a chance to realign, to remind yourself why you began, and to recommit to the path you've chosen. The habit of starting each day with purpose doesn't just make you productive, it makes you powerful. It turns your days into deliberate acts of creation and transforms ordinary effort into unstoppable momentum. Your body is the vehicle through which your mind experiences the world, and when it moves, everything changes. The simple act of moving, stretching, walking, breathing deeply sends a message to your brain that you are alive, capable, and in control. Too often, people separate the mind from the body as if they are two independent systems, but they are inseparable partners in creating energy, focus, and resilience. When you move your body, you activate your spirit. It's not about chasing perfection or building muscle. It's about awakening the energy that fuels your potential. Every unstoppable person understands that momentum starts with motion. Physical movement sparks mental clarity. A run, a workout, a dance, even a few minutes of intentional breathing can shift your entire emotional state. When you sit still for too long, stagnation seeps into your thinking. Ideas slow down, enthusiasm fades, and problems feel heavier. But once you move, the fog begins to lift. Blood flows, oxygen rises, and suddenly what seemed impossible starts to feel manageable. Movement transforms confusion into clarity, doubt into determination, and fatigue into focus. The power of movement is not reserved for athletes or fitness enthusiasts. It belongs to anyone willing to treat their body as an ally instead of an afterthought. You don't have to run marathons or lift heavy weights to benefit. You just have to move consistently, intentionally, purposefully. The small daily choices add up: taking the stairs, stretching before bed, standing tall when you feel defeated. These acts may seem insignificant, but over time, they strengthen not just the body, but the mind's belief in its own resilience. When you commit to moving your body, you train your brain to move forward too. The discipline it takes to show up physically spills into every other part of life. You begin to approach work, relationships, and challenges with a sense of endurance and adaptability. Physical movement teaches you that effort is not punishment, it's power. It reminds you that discomfort is not a sign to stop, but a signal that growth is happening. Every drop of sweat becomes proof that you're capable of more than you thought. Motion has a direct impact on emotion. Have you ever noticed that it's nearly impossible to stay angry, anxious, or discouraged after a long walk or a workout? That's because movement changes chemistry. It lowers stress hormones, increases endorphins, and clears space for creativity and problem solving. The fastest way to shift your mindset is to shift your posture. When you move your body into strength, your mind follows. The unstoppable don't wait to feel motivated before acting. They act first, and motivation rises to meet them. Moving your body also cultivates presence. In a world that constantly demands your attention, physical activity pulls you back into the now. When you run, stretch, lift, or breathe, you can't be anywhere else but in your body, in your breath, in that moment. It's a form of mindfulness that silences mental noise and restores focus. Through movement, you learn to listen, not just to your body's limits, but also to its wisdom. It tells you when to rest, when to push, and when to simply breathe. There's a deeper connection between movement and confidence that often goes unnoticed. The way you carry yourself communicates more than words ever could. When you stand tall, shoulders back, head high, you signal to yourself and to the world that you belong, that you are ready. Confidence isn't just felt, it's embodied. And every time you move with purpose, you reinforce that self-belief. You don't wait for permission to feel powerful, you create power through movement. In moments of stress or fear, your body can become your greatest tool for calm and clarity. Deep breathing slows the heart rate, movement releases tension, and posture resets perspective. When life feels overwhelming, returning to the body is a way of grounding yourself in control. The mind may wander into worry, but the body always exists in the present. By moving, you reclaim authority over your state of being, reminding yourself that action, even small action, always beats paralysis. Your relationship with movement also reflects your relationship with discipline. Consistency in caring for your body builds trust in yourself. You start to realize that showing up, even on days when you don't feel like it, is a victory in itself. That discipline carries over into every area of your life. It strengthens your commitment to goals, builds mental toughness, and reminds you that the first step, however small, always matters more than waiting for perfect conditions. Every time you choose to move, you are telling your future self that you're worth the effort. You're saying, I am capable, I am growing, I am becoming. Movement becomes more than exercise, it becomes expression. A daily declaration that you are alive and engaged in your own evolution. When the body moves, the mind expands. When the body acts, the spirit awakens. The unstoppable understand that movement isn't something you fit into your life. It's the foundation upon which you build everything else. Focus has become one of the rarest and most valuable resources in the modern world. Everywhere you look, something is fighting for your attention. Notifications, messages, news, opinions, and endless distractions that pull you in every direction. In this chaos, those who learn to guard their focus gain a tremendous advantage. Focus is not just about ignoring what's unimportant, it's about protecting your ability to give your full presence to what truly matters. It's the discipline of saying no more often than you say yes, not out of arrogance, but out of clarity. When you spread your attention too thin, everything you touch loses depth. You may feel busy, even productive, but business is not progress. Activity can disguise itself as achievement, but focus exposes the difference. True focus means immersing yourself completely in one task, one conversation, one purpose at a time. It's about trading the illusion of multitasking for the reality of mastery. You can't go deep when your mind is scattered across 10 unfinished thoughts. The most successful people are not those who do the most. They're the ones who do what matters most with unwavering attention. Guarding your focus starts with awareness. Most people don't realize how often they give their attention away. Every unnecessary scroll, every impulsive click, every moment of reacting instead of choosing, it all drains your mental energy. Focus isn't stolen from you, it's surrendered through distraction. The moment you take responsibility for how you spend your attention, you begin to regain control of your time. Awareness turns distraction into decision. Once you recognize what's pulling you away, you can decide what's worth keeping and what's not. The quality of your life often mirrors the quality of your focus. When your mind is cluttered, your decisions become reactive and fragmented. But when your focus is sharp, everything becomes clearer. You think more deeply, act more decisively, and feel more grounded in what you're doing. Focus allows you to move through challenges with purpose rather than panic. It gives you direction when everything else feels uncertain. It's not that distractions disappear, it's that they lose their power over you. Focus also demands courage. It takes bravery to turn off the noise, to disconnect, to work in silence when the world rewards constant visibility. But real progress often happens out of sight, in the quiet hours of deliberate effort. Guarding your focus sometimes means disappointing others who expect instant responses or constant availability. It means protecting your attention like it's sacred, because it is. Every great idea, every breakthrough, every piece of meaningful work begins in the stillness of undivided focus. You can train your focus like a muscle. The more you practice it, the stronger it gets. Start by giving yourself small windows of uninterrupted time. Turn off distractions, set a clear intention, and commit to it fully. Over time, your ability to concentrate will expand. You'll find that your productivity increases not because you're doing more, but because you're wasting less. The mind thrives on rhythm and simplicity. When you eliminate the noise, creativity and insight flow more freely. Guarding your focus also means setting boundaries, not just with others, but with yourself. Learn to recognize when you're slipping into habits that fracture your attention. Every time you say, just 5 more minutes, on your phone or switch tasks before finishing one, you're training your brain to crave interruption. But when you discipline yourself to stay with a task until completion, you train your mind to find satisfaction in depth rather than distraction. Boundaries create structure, and structure gives freedom. There's also an emotional side to focus. Distraction often hides discomfort, the anxiety of starting something hard, the fear of failure, or the restlessness of boredom. When you resist focus, you're often avoiding a feeling rather than a task. Learning to stay present, even when it's uncomfortable, is one of the most powerful forms of self-mastery. Focus forces you to confront your thoughts, to listen to your own resistance, and to move through it instead of running from it. That's where growth begins. In the stillness you once avoided. In a world obsessed with speed, focus invites you to slow down and go deeper. It's not about doing things faster, but doing them with intention. When you give your full attention to something, you bring quality to it. Whether it's your work, your relationships, or your growth, focused attention communicates respect. It says, this matters. Over time, that respect compounds into mastery. The person who can focus fully, even for short periods, will always outperform the one who's endlessly distracted. Guarding your focus is ultimately about reclaiming your power. Every minute you spend scattered is a minute of potential lost. But when you protect your focus, you protect your creativity, your energy, and your sense of purpose. The world may tempt you with endless noise, but you have the choice to listen to what truly deserves your attention. Focus is not just a skill. It's a statement of intention, a declaration that your mind belongs to you and your mission, not to the demands of distraction. Gratitude is often misunderstood as a fleeting emotion, something that appears in moments of joy or comfort, but it's far more powerful than that. Gratitude is a deliberate practice, a conscious decision to recognize the good even when life feels difficult. It's not about pretending everything is perfect. It's about acknowledging that even in imperfection, there is value. The practice of gratitude shifts perspective from what's missing to what's present, from scarcity to abundance, and from frustration to appreciation. It turns ordinary moments into lessons and challenges into opportunities for growth. When you make gratitude part of your daily routine, it changes the way you see the world. Small things begin to stand out. The quiet of the morning, the warmth of sunlight, the kindness of a stranger, the support of someone who believes in you. You start to notice that even when life feels chaotic, there's still beauty woven into the details. Gratitude slows the pace of your thoughts and gives you space to breathe. It teaches you to look beyond the noise and find the steady rhythm of things that are going right. People often chase happiness as if it's a destination, but happiness is a byproduct of gratitude. When you practice gratitude, your mind naturally releases the tension of comparison. You stop measuring your worth against others and start appreciating your own path. It becomes easier to celebrate the success of others without feeling diminished. Gratitude rewires your brain to focus on possibility instead of lack. It creates a mindset that looks for what can be done rather than what's gone wrong. The more you practice it, the more your perspective transforms. Gratitude also strengthens resilience. When faced with hardship, grateful people are not blind to pain. They simply refuse to let pain define them. They find something within the difficulty to be thankful for, even if it's just the lesson that comes with it. This doesn't make the struggle disappear, but it gives it meaning. Gratitude acts as an emotional anchor, keeping you grounded when circumstances try to pull you under. It reminds you that even in loss, there is something left to hold on to. A memory, a relationship, a lesson, or a chance to begin again. It's easy to be grateful when life is good. The real test of gratitude is how you practice it when things fall apart. In moments of disappointment or uncertainty, gratitude becomes a form of strength. It shifts your attention away from what's uncontrollable and toward what remains in your power. When you can find something to be grateful for in the midst of struggle, even if it's just the breath in your lungs, you keep your spirit alive. Gratitude doesn't ignore pain, it helps you rise through it. In relationships, gratitude acts as a bridge. It deepens connection, builds trust, and turns ordinary interactions into meaningful exchanges. Saying thank you with sincerity has the power to transform how people feel seen and valued. When you express appreciation to others, not just for what they do, but for who they are, it fosters respect and loyalty. Gratitude removes ego from communication. It invites empathy, and it reminds us that success and fulfillment are rarely solo achievements. Every step forward is built on the shoulders of those who have helped, guided, or inspired us along the way. Practicing gratitude also affects your physical and mental well-being. Science has shown that it reduces stress, improves sleep, and enhances overall happiness. But beyond the science, it's the feeling itself that matters. That subtle warmth that comes when you pause to recognize what's good. Gratitude quiets the endless desire for more and replaces it with contentment. It teaches you that joy is not something you find in the future, but something you cultivate in the present. When you live in gratitude, even small victories feel extraordinary. To truly live with gratitude means to carry it into every corner of your life. Not just in words, but in attitude. It's in how you show up for others, how you treat yourself, and how you handle adversity. Gratitude turns routine into ritual. Drinking your morning coffee, walking to work, or spending time with loved ones becomes more than habit. It becomes appreciation in action. The more you practice noticing and naming what you're thankful for, the more life reveals reasons to be thankful. There will always be things beyond your control, and there will always be moments when gratitude feels out of reach. That's when the practice matters most. It's easy to sink into frustration, to fixate on what's missing, but choosing gratitude is an act of defiance against negativity. It's a declaration that no matter what's happening, you will continue to see the good. That choice, repeated daily, builds emotional endurance and strengthens the foundation of your mindset. Gratitude turns survival into strength and strength into peace. Gratitude, when practiced deeply, becomes more than a thought. It becomes a way of being. It shapes how you speak, how you act, and how you perceive challenges. It invites humility because it reminds you that nothing good happens in isolation. It softens judgment and strengthens compassion for yourself and for others. Over time, gratitude stops being something you practice and becomes something you embody. It becomes the lens through which you experience life, a quiet but unbreakable power that transforms even the simplest day into something worth cherishing. Learning something new every day is not just an act of curiosity. It's an act of evolution. The world moves quickly, and those who stop learning eventually find themselves standing still while everything else advances. Growth isn't a phase reserved for the early years of life. It's a lifelong discipline. The moment you decide you already know enough, you begin to shrink. Every day offers lessons waiting to be uncovered in conversations, in mistakes, in books, in silence, and in moments of reflection. The unstoppable understand that knowledge is not something to be collected, but something to be lived, applied, and expanded. The process of learning keeps your mind alive and flexible. When you expose yourself to new ideas, you stretch the boundaries of what you believe is possible. It's not about consuming endless information, it's about developing awareness. Learning sharpens perspective and strengthens empathy. It teaches you how to adapt, how to listen, and how to find meaning in unfamiliar places. The more you learn, the more you realize how much there is left to discover. That humility, that willingness to stay a student, becomes a quiet form of strength. Every skill, every insight, every new piece of understanding becomes part of the foundation that supports your future decisions. Knowledge is the one investment that can never be taken from you, and it pays dividends in confidence, creativity, and capability. When you commit to learning daily, you begin to notice patterns others miss. You connect ideas across disciplines. You draw inspiration from unlikely sources. Learning doesn't just add information to your mind, it changes the way your mind works. It helps you see connections where others see separation. The greatest innovators and leaders all share one thing in common: an insatiable hunger to learn. They don't assume they have all the answers, they ask better questions. They seek out mentors, challenge their own beliefs, and stay open to being wrong. Learning is the antidote to stagnation and arrogance. It keeps you grounded in reality while still reaching for possibility. When you make learning a daily habit, you stay curious about life itself. Curiosity, after all, is the spark that ignites wisdom. Learning also builds resilience. Every new skill begins with discomfort, the awkward stage of not knowing what to do, of trying and failing repeatedly. But that discomfort is where growth lies. Each time you push through confusion and keep learning anyway, you're teaching yourself perseverance. You're rewiring your brain to handle challenges with patience and adaptability. Failure becomes feedback instead of finality. Learning how to learn, how to stay engaged through struggle, is one of the most powerful tools you can develop. The act of learning daily doesn't always require books or classrooms. It can be as simple as observing the world with curiosity. Listening to someone's story, asking a question instead of making an assumption, trying a new method, a new recipe, a new route to work. Every experience carries a lesson, but only if you're paying attention. Growth hides in ordinary moments, waiting for those who are mindful enough to notice. The unstoppable treat each day like a classroom where life itself is the teacher and every mistake is part of the curriculum. When you engage in learning, you expand not only your knowledge, but your capacity for empathy. Understanding different perspectives broadens your worldview and dissolves judgment. You begin to appreciate the diversity of thought and experience that shapes the human story. The more you learn, the more you realize how connected everything is, how every person, every idea, every discipline influences another. Learning reminds you that you are both a participant in and a student of the world. It deepens your sense of connection and responsibility. Continuous learning also strengthens creativity. The more you feed your mind with ideas, the more raw material you have to create something new. Inspiration rarely appears from nothing. It's born from the fusion of everything you've seen, read, and experienced. When you learn across different areas, art, science, history, psychology, your mind begins to form bridges between them. That's where innovation happens. You stop copying and start creating. The daily act of learning becomes a form of fuel that powers imagination and invention. Even small moments of learning have a compounding effect. 15 minutes a day doesn't seem like much, but over a year, it's more than 90 hours of focused growth. Over a decade, it can transform you completely. The key is consistency. A little bit of new knowledge each day, built on top of curiosity and reflection, becomes unstoppable momentum. Learning doesn't demand huge leaps, just steady steps in the direction of growth. Every new concept, every skill, every insight adds another layer to the person you are becoming. The mindset of daily learning creates a sense of wonder that keeps life exciting. You stop drifting through days on autopilot and start engaging with them deliberately. Every challenge becomes a chance to understand something deeper about yourself or the world around you. Learning daily turns routine into opportunity, fear into curiosity, and limitation into possibility. It reminds you that your potential is not fixed. It expands with every new idea you dare to explore. Doing one hard thing every day is not about punishment or proving strength. It's about building the kind of discipline that transforms you from the inside out. Growth never happens in comfort. The mind and body are designed to adapt only when challenged. And each time you choose to do something difficult, you're training yourself to rise above resistance. It's not about the size of the challenge. It can be small, quiet, and personal, but about the intention behind it. When you deliberately face something hard each day, you remind yourself that you are stronger than the part of you that wants to stay safe. Most people spend their lives avoiding discomfort. They avoid the cold, the confrontation, the risk of embarrassment, the fear of failure. But comfort is deceptive. It feels safe, yet it slowly steals potential. Doing one hard thing every day breaks that pattern. It teaches you to lean into discomfort instead of running from it. It shows you that fear is not a signal to stop, but an invitation to grow. Each time you step towards something uncomfortable, you expand the boundaries of what you believe you're capable of, and that expansion becomes permanent. Hard things come in many forms. For some, it might be waking up earlier than usual. For others, it could be initiating a difficult conversation, tackling a project they've been procrastinating on, or confronting a truth they've been avoiding. The challenge doesn't need to be dramatic. It just needs to be something that stretches your limits. The daily act of choosing something difficult rewires your brain. It shifts your relationship with struggle from avoidance to acceptance. You stop waiting for motivation to appear and start building it through action. When you do hard things regularly, you develop grit, the quiet kind of toughness that doesn't shout but endures. Grit isn't about brute force, it's about consistency, patience, and the willingness to keep showing up even when results aren't immediate. It's in the repetition of doing the uncomfortable that your character takes shape. Over time, what once felt impossible becomes routine, and what once intimidated you becomes familiar. Each small victory compounds into confidence, and that confidence becomes the foundation for taking on even bigger challenges. Doing one hard thing every day also keeps your ego in check. It reminds you that growth has no shortcuts and that humility is part of the process. When you struggle, you're reminded that you don't have it all figured out, and that's a good thing. It keeps you teachable, grounded, and connected to the reality that progress is built through persistence, not perfection. The act of doing something hard strips away illusions of ease and reinforces the truth that everything worthwhile demands effort. There's also a psychological transformation that happens when you face discomfort voluntarily. You begin to realize that most of your limits are mental, not physical. The mind creates resistance long before the body reaches its capacity. By pushing through small difficulties daily, you train your brain to see obstacles differently. Instead of interpreting discomfort as danger, you begin to interpret it as growth. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "What is this teaching me?" That shift in perception changes everything. Choosing to do one hard thing every day builds self-trust. Each time you follow through on something challenging, you send a message to yourself, "I can rely on me." Over time, that internal trust becomes unshakable. You stop doubting your ability to handle life because you've proven to yourself again and again that you can. Even small acts, finishing a workout when you want to quit, saying no when it's uncomfortable, or speaking up when it's easier to stay silent, accumulate into powerful evidence of resilience. Hard things also expose truth. When you're under pressure or discomfort, your real thoughts and patterns emerge. You see where you hesitate, where you rationalize, where you give up too soon. That awareness is valuable because you can't change what you refuse to see. Doing something difficult each day holds a mirror up to your habits and mindset. It reveals who you are when things aren't easy, and it gives you a chance to choose differently next time. It turns self-awareness into self-mastery. The beauty of this practice lies in its simplicity. You don't need a massive plan or perfect timing. You just need to choose one thing each day that requires effort, courage, or discipline. It could be emotional, physical, or intellectual, anything that challenges the path of least resistance. Over time, the daily repetition of courage becomes automatic. You start to crave challenge because you've learned that it's the gateway to growth. Discomfort becomes familiar, not frightening, and that familiarity makes you unstoppable in the face of adversity. Each day you confront something hard, you strengthen the invisible muscles of determination and courage. Those muscles will carry you when motivation fades, when uncertainty rises, when fear whispers that you're not ready. The person who makes a habit of doing hard things becomes unbreakable because they no longer rely on comfort for confidence. They build it from experience, from the knowledge that they can face what's uncomfortable and still move forward. And that strength, cultivated daily, becomes the quiet power behind everything they do.